money right now.
Yeah, no, it'll be easy. My team was like, man, they're not getting me.
Make sure.
Something to think about. Yeah, let's talk
But
about
I
it
think with
later.
all the interviews and stuff, she
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, it's like they're back in that development issue.
This one, two division.
Yeah.
They were
His hand,
There he is.
meniscus surgery, week and a half.
All right, everybody, I think we're gonna get started.
It's not like when I was younger.
Plenty to discuss.
Good morning.
Sorry. Oh, no. All right.
We will call the meeting to order.
Okay.
And if you would, take the roll.
Start with roll, okay.
There's someone on the screen too.
Yes, so Mr. Parker had a business conflict today, and he is attending remotely. Mayor Darcy,
Here.
Councilman Cardenas,
Here.
Ms. Bottomley,
Here.
Mr. Doris is absent, he let me know that. Ms. Gruenberg,
Present.
Ms. Howard,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mr. O'Hara,
Here.
Mr. Parker,
Here.
Mr. Pryor,
Here.
Mr. Randich,
Here.
Mr. Rico,
Here.
Dr. Rouse,
Here.
Ms. Viveros,
Here.
Ms. Walker,
Here.
Mr. Stunich is absent. He let me know he would not be in attendance today. And Chairman Rolfe.
Here.
Great. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the September 3rd, 2025 meeting of this Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee.
Motion moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Same side. Motion carries.
Next, we have citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. It is not a question and answer period, and staff and the committee members do not generally respond to public comments. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment under citizens to be heard on agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, we can move on to old business, of which there are no agenda items, which brings us to new business, of which we are here today to talk primarily, well, two things, but first is the engagement summary for the survey and community workshop. So this was a document that was part of your staff report packet. It's also available on the city's web page, or the project webpage on the city's website. So this is for also the public to view. And with us today, we have our consultant team. Hi. And they are here to help walk us through this document and offer some feedback on some highlights. Leslie and Katrina and Parag, I also have the PowerPoint presentation, if you would like me to boot that up too, that you had prepared for the Rotary Club, but that's if you want me to do that.
Thanks, Jane.
Okay.
Maybe we'll just go ahead and hit the highlights for the public engagement summary. This is a summary that was prepared at the end of phase 2 of the process, which is inclusive of both the summary or the survey that we ran for approximately 6 weeks and the first public workshop in October. So Katrina is on with Muse, so maybe we'll just take a couple minutes, Katrina, and just hit the highlights of the public engagement summary that you prepared. Thank you.
Hi everyone, nice to see you again. I saw many of you at the public engagement event, and so we were really pleased with the amount of promotion that Joliet was able to do to encourage responses on the online survey, and then also encouraging attendance at the in-person workshop. We had a little over 2,000 responses on the survey, which is a really fantastic turnout. And so because we got such high response rate, we feel very confident about kind of the feedback that we were able to get. The summary includes both what we heard with the online survey as well as what we heard at the workshop. And you know, a lot of what we were hearing, I think, is reflected in the report around housing in neighborhoods and kind of the keeping, kind of maintaining existing housing stock and neighborhood feel, kind of concerns about safety, desire for kind of cultural events. So I would say, you know, kind of from my perspective, what we were really seeing is a lot of kind of quality of life, that people desire to have opportunity to attend events, to have things to do, high quality parks and amenities in Joliet. And so there's really a lot of opportunity in the plan to think about how to enhance what's existing. There was a lot of pride in kind of the diversity and the history of Joliet and build on that for, you know, what's to come. And so we have organized it in a way of kind of bulleting out some key themes that we heard, and then also summarizing from both the feedback and the survey based on topic, kind of some opportunities to consider as the plan process continues to move forward.
Does anyone have any comments? Have a chance to digest the engagement summary?
I have a, and again, I'm not trying to be critical. The report's great. Overall, it's great. There could be a couple of things I'd like to get clear, though. I'm not sure on page 36. That can't, could that be right? Number 24, where it says, maybe I don't understand is that saying like 56% of the respondents were American Indian or Alaskan, or?
Yeah, I pulled up the summary report here. I have an updated, I saw the Excel doc when the labels were put in. I noticed that the American Indian was mislabeled there, so I have updated that here.
Okay.
And I pulled it up on the screen. I hope everyone can see.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So we'll ensure that the correct label on the bottom is reflected in the report.
And just as a follow-up, I was a little surprised by, and it is, you know, it is what it is. It was talking about I'm sorry, now I'm drawing a blank. It talked about the age range of people who completed the survey.
Mm-hmm.
Were there that many 18-year-olds that did that, or was that?
That was a mistake.
No, I have updated the chart here, the under 18.
Okay.
The label, we noticed that there was an issue with the pulling in from the Excel labels, and so I made all of the updates here. That the 45 to 54 was our most common age range.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be nitpicking, but thank you.
No,
I'm glad
that's
you're
not.
pointing that
I
out.
appreciate you saying that, and I've pulled it up on the screen here to say, as I was preparing for today, I noticed that labeling issue, and so I just pulled up, wanted to make sure we get that.
Thank you. Yep, appreciate
For
it.
the record, appreciate it, yeah.
Is there also an update for how many people currently live in your household? 26?
Yes, I have that one, let's see, the 2 is the most common.
Okay.
So on the demographic appendix piece, I'll have to send an update with the labeling there. So the percentages are correct, we just want to make sure that we get the labels pulled in properly.
There's also one on graph 21, how long have you lived or worked in Joliet?
Right, and I think I've got.
I think that was, yeah, I think you already got that one.
21 and how long? So the most,
Yeah.
the most people that responded is more than 10 years.
That's better.
Yes, Elaine?
If there were that many 18-year-olds that responded to the survey, that would be a very, very civically engaged population. So
Yeah.
we can
That was
have
one
that
of
as a goal.
our, you know, we put kind of these recommendations at the end, and, you know, one of the things we like to think about is how we can engage the younger population as well, as they'll be the ones who are growing up as these, you know, recommendations and plans kind of come to fruition. So I would be curious too, kind of from your experience on the engagement, like kind of how we can, you know, we'll be thinking more about how we can engage young people too. Because like Leslie said, generally, you know, it is harder to get, you know, young people really to engage with the content in the way that kind of what we typically see is kind of adult range people at the event, so.
And I also saw that most of the students who responded were kind of stragglers from Joliet West. Like we saw a lot of those students kind of wander in, so.
We roped
I
a
think
lot of them in.
Yeah, it was as high as it was
Yeah.
because they were
Yep.
there. I think it matters though still.
As we continue to get some updates and making sure that all the labeling is correct, will we be able to get the updated version sent out to the whole steering committee?
Oh, yeah, it's also on the
absolutely.
website, so we're gonna need to
Okay.
update
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
And then I had a great time going through and reading it. I don't know what it says about me that I enjoy reading a public engagement summary, but it's probably telling. I really enjoyed seeing some of the feedback, and it was nice to be able to see that the things that I've heard as a lifelong resident of Joliet and the things I've experienced seem to be kind of a shared experience. It feels like we're on the right track, we're pushing in the right way, we have the right people in this room trying to help guide the process. One of the things I did want to talk about, and I know that Jane, you had requested some feedback on what we thought, how the public workshop went. I wanted to just kind of get an additional clarification. The online component of this was just like the boards were uploaded on the website and then people could email comments, right?
Yes.
I think that as we look at what our second public engagement and third public engagement look like, I would really love to see us do online engagement in really a more meaningful way. I think that just having the things up on the website's fine, but if I, as a resident, say, okay, I want to go check out, I missed the meeting, there's only one day, there's only one time, I'm going to go to the website, okay, I have to click on this, now I have to zoom in on it. Okay, now I have to open up an email, then I have to type an email. Like, that's too many barriers to try to get some meaningful engagement online. I think that there's better ways for us to do that, and I think I'd really like to see us kind of tap into that.
Okay. Boise, did you have something?
Yes, my comment was along the same lines as Lindo. I like that we had the event at Joliet West because we saw a larger number of students, and they actually looked like they were going around and attending each of the different opportunities. So I like that, even though we kind of guided them in. So I know we got a larger population because we were at Joliet West. So looking at our next community meeting, having it at Joliet Central and possibly reaching out to the principal ahead of time to see if we can get more engagement, I think would be advantageous.
I agree.
We-
Are there parking issues with Joliet Central?
Just, well, we have not decided the location of the next workshop, so we don't know if it's gonna be at West again, or if it's gonna be in different areas of the city. So that's something that we're still seeking feedback and discussion on with our consultant team. I know they're meeting also to discuss and building in even potentially different alternatives with online, so.
Well, that is my feedback, especially from the residents on the east side, for us to have it at a more central location, not on the west side.
Okay. Did you guys have something, or were you reacting to that? Oh,
I don't know, but
okay.
On page 34, number 6, I didn't know if that number was accurate either. I saw that earlier. 79% of people want to allow accessory dwelling units on their lots. Like, how many?
Sounds great,
No,
but.
the question is not on the lot, just as a strategy for kind of bringing in more housing options to Joliet. But like I said, we have gone through the appendix and noted the labeling issue. So I'm going through on the appendix and making sure everything is there. I'm trying to pull up and see if I have it already updated here for you on there. So we will make all the update on the appendix labeling.
Okay.
But the question was really around strategy, so not if like you personally would want to do that, but like would you support that as one of the strategies to kind of enhance and diversify housing options in Joliet? Okay, if I have it here.
I was reading it incorrectly when I was going through. Yes, that's, yeah. Tough to parse.
But yeah, that one, we'll make sure that it's updated there.
No, I just printed a copy for her, so I need to know from her she doesn't have the inaccurate one.
So is it safe to say that you went through the whole summary and reviewed all of the information to make sure that the labels are correct? Because there might be other questions in that regard, and if you've addressed it, unless there's something that's really standing out that you want to point out?
No, all the summary information is correct. I just noted in the appendix part with the labeling on the graphs that we needed to make some updates there.
Other comments?
I guess I have just one question. In the case of a lot of these dot placement ones, I think what we learned is everything is important, right? We saw a lot of clustering on high importance, particularly like on the jobs one. I actually like the visual of that with the spectrum, but it clusters toward everything's important. So I'm curious, how do we parse that? Like what value do we gain in terms of prioritization when it looks like everything's important? Is there enough differentiation that you're seeing in those that says that this is a target, or is it just, hey, everything's important and we roll that direction?
Yeah, so how we think about the dot voting when we're kind of analyzing that is we kind of use this and visually break into sections so that we can kind of analyze the dot voting there. And as you have noted here, there is a lot of kind of importance for the types of strategies that we have proposed here in the public meeting for people to give feedback on. And so what we do then is kind of take that, and as the goals and objectives and the strategies are continued to be refined, kind of continue with data, with understanding of kind of partnerships and the workforce network in this particular area. Are there ones that kind of stand out or are more able to be advanced as we move through the planning process? But from the public feedback, there was not one in this scenario that like clearly was way far ahead of the others. And so that for us, that would mean like thinking through, are there then other data pieces or other information about these strategies that we may want to take into consideration as we think about priority?
Yeah, inclusive of the capability.
Sure. Yeah, I think when we walked into the public workshop, we sort of knew that each one of these four pieces, these four elements were going to be important. So we were looking for two things. One is to confirm our assumptions, based on the focus groups that we had, based on the early responses that we were getting from the survey. So confirmation that these four elements were important was one part of it. The second one was knowing that if we did get confirmation that these 4 elements were important to working in Joliet, then the next step of this process, as Katrina said, is prioritization. So if one of these elements has more opportunity or, can be incentivized, it's easier to fund, it's easier to implement, it's something that's really important right now, it's timely, it's relevant today, then that would bubble to the top. So prioritization is the next step in this process now that we have confirmation that, yes, these 4 elements are important to residents of Joliet.
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to comment on is, along with Elaine, I noticed a lot of the comments around housing and the east and southeast side of Joliet aligns with a lot of what we have been saying for at least the past 5 years. So it's not just selective individuals who think that we need to definitely diversify housing, we need more affordable housing, we need commercial development. So it's evident in the plan that we're on the right track, that what we're saying as individuals, a larger population is saying as well.
And I would say too, on top of that, the almost tie score between single-family homes, of course, and multi-use housing was very interesting to me, and that is aligned with the ETOD plan and some of the recommendations that were made with that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Mm-hmm. I mean, mostly in the downtown area, but I mean, if that's an option for more housing, then I think it's give the people what they want.
I think as we look through this plan and as we continue to refine it, the important ingredient is getting private investors, private capital in here to build the homes and the multi-use buildings. And so as we progress through this, that's where we have to identify the locations of, I think going towards Briggs Street, there's a lot of vacant land. There's a lot of what I refer to as blank canvas. And I understand what everybody wants, and then we have to understand how do we marry that to investors and get housing in here that is affordable. And I call affordability in several layers. It's not just this layer. It's like, what about the doctors? They're all living somewhere else. Why don't we want them in our community? So we need to make sure that we look at housing in several stages, and affordability is in different slices and different affordings. So I agree, we've got so much blank canvas east. We keep looking, we built west, but we didn't look east. So I think those are some of the things that as we move forward, we know that that's what the residents want. We need to marry that to the developers to incentivize them to get them here and start building that way too. I feel the same way.
Mayor, one thing I know is once we have this comprehensive plan, that's going to be a great marketing tool for us to be able to present to the developers and what it is that we're looking to do over the next 10 to 20 years. So I do.
And all of that coupled with the review that we know needs to take place of city ordinances and zoning and the like that complements those demands, if you will, that are identified in the plan for housing at all price points. Because there's affordability is what's your budget capable of handling. I don't care about anybody else. Can I afford to live in this house? And I think those are things that we have to build into this, that zoning is going to be very important. We just need to revisit it. It may not be wrong. It may need to be tweaked, or it may need to be new. So that's all part of this. And you can't do some of these things. You can't get private investors if your zoning and ordinances are restrictive. You need to be looking at those and saying, what are they in the present form? What do they need to be to do and accomplish what this plan hopefully will set forth.
So we'll need to market this to the decision makers on the city level before we can market it to developers or investors who would be interested in building perhaps say multifamily housing and offering affordable options with private investment options. All right, someone's not picking up what I'm putting down, but that's okay.
Other comments?
I wonder what role should even exposing residents of Joliet to other models in other cities, because I think a lot of times when you look at the feedback and you hear some of the comments, we tend to be very insular, where like we know the Joliet way and we have a preference, and then like as far we reach, like we only reach to Naperville, we only reach to like those areas around us. But I think it would serve us some good to even present some examples of cities similar to Joliet in demographic, in population, in land availability, so that our folks can see some other models and reimagine some things. I think sometimes being in Joliet too long limits you. And so like you only know one way to develop, and I think that we also need to be trying to stretch the imaginations of the residents so they can see what's possible in this area. I mean, if you look at some of the things that have been developed in Joliet over the last 10 years, I mean, I've been here my whole life, so I went to Laraway. I never imagined Laraway Road and 53 looking like it did when Amy Passes and their family lived there and we all went to school together. Like, it was just farmland to us. And I think that the same way, you know, we reimagine those things, we got to have a greater imagination. Like, we can't keep doing what we've always done. And I think it would help if we can show some examples of some creative models.
So the AFL-CIO has a program where they work with developers. So the AFL-CIO works with the building trades, the union trades all across the country to develop medium to large scale or even smaller scale residential multifamily projects. Currently, I'm sure you all have heard the big project in Chicago is the 400 Lakeshore Drive project, where originally the Spire was supposed to be built. They're involved with that development. If you all like, I can get a hold of our contacts here in Joliet. He would, Paul Nelson is his name. He'd be able to come in here and give us a presentation on the projects, not what they've just done in communities across the country, but more specifically here, in Illinois and in the greater Chicago area.
Beautiful projects.
Yeah,
I mean,
Nora and I spoke about this a couple weeks ago.
Well, and we've been talking about this for years, and they're doing it in other cities too.
Right.
Like I think in Minneapolis, St. Louis, multiple unions use their pension funds to invest in excellent, high-quality housing, and oftentimes it has a component of affordable housing built, baked into the cake. So
Right.
it's an incredible opportunity.
So,
and I would
yeah,
love to see
basically what it
us
looks
explore
like, it's like a one-stop shop, right? You go to the AFL-CIO, they work with the developers, the AFL puts up the capital for the development. We have all the contractors, obviously, we have the people to build these projects, but there's, like with 400 Lakeshore Drive, even though it's, in a very exclusive part of downtown Chicago, that project has, I believe, 20% affordable housing attached to that project. That's part of what they come in with. It's not just, high-end housing. It's a mix.
And I think teachers' unions also invest in similar kinds of, it's a great way to invest pension funds.
I mean, there's multiple ways to do it. I think what this does is it challenges those who wish to develop in our area to just have an imagination, like just to not do what you've always, like there are tons of ways to do this that are both profitable, and it still can make them attainable.
I think the city of Chicago is actually being very intentional with all of the housing development that's coming to Chicago. They require a percentage of it to be affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm just going to put a piece of realism on the table. I came to Joliet 10 years ago, and my school district had 12,000 students pre-K to 8. Here we are this year at 9,100 students pre-K to 8. The birth rates have dropped off. We only have 800 kindergarten students this year compared to about 1,100 that we normally would have. There's a serious decline when you look at children being born, being raised. So families coming in to Joliet is an important piece to consider as opposed to just housing for the professionals. We really need to make certain we're encouraging that notion of the young family coming in. Young people are not having, they're getting married, but they're not having kids because of the economy. I get that. People aren't buying homes because of the economy. I get that. It's troubling, but when you look at the data around birth rates, and it's across the nation, but our birth rates in this area have declined dramatically. I've only got about 925 first graders, about 950 second graders. You don't hit the 1,000 number until you hit my junior high ages. And so that decline we're seeing in the school district pretty dramatically over these 10 years that I've been here. So,
Dr. Rouse, is that decline also from people leaving this area, or do you guys just look at the birth rates?
well, we look at the birth rates predominantly, but the realities of people coming and going, we've always had there's a lot of mobility, but typically the mobility was within the city, movement between schools, but we're not seeing that as much because there isn't the availability in different places for housing for them. The area up in the Forest Park area that was, demolished and not rebuilt. Okay, that we lost a whole bunch of families there. We've got the piece down by the river. I want to call it Evergreen, Riverwalk. There we go. And half of that's going to be emptied out because of we're not rebuilding. So, where do those families go? Because there isn't options for them. So there is some of that decline, but the birth rate issue is one that's even more profound.
And I think that's a national issue.
It is a national issue.
International issue, really.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But how do we? There's still people out there who have young children, but we're not attracting them either.
And economic mobility has declined significantly over the last, let's call it 5 years, and largely due to the housing challenges, right? There's just not a lot of inventory, but for a place like us, right? So this happened post-08 recession as well, where mobility just got stunted because people, were underwater in homes, couldn't move. But in this case, like for us, it's particularly difficult because our attraction of young families from sort of the urban core has been an engine for us, for your students, for a really long time. And when you have a situation where we don't have a lot of places for people in their 20s to live, and we expect them to come back when they're 30-ish and having kids, but there's no home inventory, mobility's down, that's going to punish us, and it will your district for a period of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Realistically, you expect that cycle to turn and them to come back, but you will have a lost period of time that'll be very difficult to recover.
Yeah, the trending birth rates for the next 5 years are.
It's bad.
It is bad. Yes, it's not exciting. So, buckle up.
All good comments that we need to take into consideration as we look at this, and that just simply highlights the complexity of the project at hand. I mean, there's a lot of information that we have to garner. There's a lot of information that we have to really review and determine what is the right strategy and can we do that. And funding, whether it's private or public, can always be an issue on many fronts. I was just curious if our friends on the screen there have any other highlights that they wanted to point out as a result of looking at the survey summary and the workshop summary. I mean, we've had a chance to look at it. We know the descriptors of all the graphs are being reviewed and corrected, and we'll get those shortly. But was there anything else that really stood out to you, kind of using the other city model in work that you've done is there anything that really stood out favorable or negative in terms of the information that you've accumulated for us through those two contexts? Okay.
But Leslie, I didn't know if you were going to jump in, Leslie, but I'm happy to say, I think what really stood out to me, I've heard the discussion among the committee here about kind of attracting younger families and working families, and what stood out to me were kind of the comments about the quality of life, of the desire to have places for young families to bring their children, to attend cultural events, to go to parks and have amenities. I'll say, like, this is a very specific one, but the pool splash pad came up quite a bit as a desired amenity in Joliet. And so kind of thinking about how does the city function in a way that is desirable, because people do have choice about where they come, and a lot of people do want to come back and be close to home. And so how are we making Joliet a place that has those amenities that people are looking for as they raise their families? And it is a big question with the larger ecosystem that I've heard discussion around the housing choice and affordability. But in some ways, I think some of the asks or the desires are kind of like nearer term achievable things about how are we thinking about amenities and green space and connecting to existing assets in Joliet and continuing to make it kind of a desirable place for people. And some of the soft stuff too came up in terms of, like, what is the reputation of Joliet? What do people think about Joliet when they come? And what can we do to kind of bolster that and continue to grow pride in Joliet? So those are the kind of things that stood out to me. It seemed like people want to be here, they feel pride of here, and want kind of that more holistic quality of life amenities. I'll let hop into.
Again, all good points, and again, points to just the complexity of what we're about doing here. This is, in the time that's been allocated, excuse me, to get it completed, is a direct correlation of how complex and thoughtful we need to be about this effort. So one of the things that I thought about and made comments on in the summary was, is there data supporting it, or are they simply perspectives that people have? I hear a perspective all the time about, well, this is an unsafe area, or that's an unsafe area, and there's no data to really support it. People just feel that way because they're out of their comfort zone. And hopefully this will help us pare down some of that information too, so that as we look at it, we can demonstrate that it is a good place to live, it is attractive, and it's going to get better. And if we don't believe that, we got a different issue. And so other comments that anyone has on the summaries and the discussion that's been taking place?
I'll just jump in then as we transition. So in terms of next steps, so the summary of what the engagement's been to date, married with the existing conditions report, as well as our consultant team's expertise. And so Lamar Johnson Collaborative, along with their sub-consultants through the variety of topic areas. So the next step is they have taken all the information, again, existing conditions report, the engagements, that activities they've done to date, and then their expertise. And they have a draft, which is still going under internal review, but it's a vision, goals, and objectives document. It's a weighty document, and this establishes, again, vision, goals, and objectives for each of these sort of big topic areas. So economic development, environment and natural resources, mobility and transportation, that will be the primary focus of the next advisory committee meeting. We expect that the document will be ready for review. We're hoping 2 weeks in advance of your next meeting because it really is, there's a lot of information in here. And that document, again, setting the goals and objectives for this comprehensive plan is really going to allow us to dive into what are the next steps, what are the recommendations, what are the strategies. So that'll be the focus going forward after your next meeting. And then we'll talk about working groups in a second, but that'll be based on that as well. So I don't know, Leslie, Katrina, did I accurately summarize what's coming up next?
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Great.
Is that all right?
So in a couple of the documents, this is getting way down in the weeds, so
Sure.
please excuse me. Blue font is very nice, but different printers print it out. Either it's readable or it's not, because it fades with the type of printer that you have. So if some of that could be, put your banners in blue and maybe the text that supports that is in black or a different color that will print, because I printed one of these documents and it was so faint, and I still have 20/20 vision. I could barely read it. And so just thought I'd help everybody else with that.
Jim, you're not the first to point that out. So we'll be working with the consultant team on the next deliverables with terms of font color and then even font size, because even though we want to print less, there's still often people who do print and then they're struggling with the format because this is 11 by 17. If you were to print this on 8.5 by 11, you can't read it. So we'll be working with them on that.
Thank you. So working groups.
All right. Anything else before we transition to the next agenda item? Okay. So working groups are going to be meeting, there's 2 of them that'll be meeting the second week in December, and then the rest of them will be in January. Thanks to everyone who's been working with me with coming up with the initial round of dates and now a second round of dates. And again, the reason why we have now pushed the majority of the working group workshops into January is because we need the full vision, goals, and objectives document to be reviewed by this committee before we have those working groups. So those working groups will be evaluating those goals and objectives, and we'll talk more about, again, what they're going to be doing about that in a second. So that's why they've been shifted. I have provided each of you a summary. Again, this shouldn't be too new because I sent this a while ago. What is new in here about the working groups is that, one, there was a typo. There is no, there's a working group on utilities and infrastructure, so the first original one didn't have that. A working group for people, places, and belonging, which is a chapter of the future vision, goals, and objectives document. That working group title is going to be arts, culture, and heritage for the actual meeting that'll take place. So just keep that in mind. And then within this sheet, what would be new is just, again, I think there's been a lot of questions about like what is going to happen at that workshop. So we've been working with our consultant team to answer those questions in detail to offer a level of comfort. So the working group workshops will be validating the goals and objectives that, again, you'll be reviewing at your December committee meeting, and identifying gaps. Is there things that are missing from these goals and objectives? And are there key areas of importance, again, that aren't there, and then building on that, what are the priorities from the people who are in attendance at these working group workshops? And if there's time, so we're trying to limit these workshops to an hour and a half. There will be also, we're trying to gather information for preliminary implementation. So if this is the objective with you people in the room, what would be some things we should start looking at from yours and their experience of how these objectives could be achieved. And each objective could have multiple different strategies and recommendations stemming from them. So that would be what is occurring at the workshops. My ask of all of you is that in a day or two, it could be even later today, I have to connect with one other person. There will be a flyer that goes out. It'll look similar to this. It has all the working group sessions listed, where they're gonna be at, and start getting people to come to those. So this will be open to the public, but we really want you as advisory committee members to lean on your networks of what you think, or who you would think would really be able to drive these workshops home in terms of topic matter expertise. So this is, you know, we've been hearing from you along that we want to gather more expertise into this from also shared experiences from the community. So we'll be looking to you to push out the message. There's that. I've had a lot of people want to lead certain working groups, and we have several working group topics. So thanks to everyone who's agreed to co-chair these working group workshops. Just because you're not a chair or co-chair doesn't mean that you can't go to that workshop and really drive, the content of that workshop. I'll be reaching out to the co-leaders of each of these workshops to set up a time where we can, again, start crafting who are our targeted invites. And when I do that, I want to invite everyone. If you really care about that workshop, even if you're not the leader of it, please do give us that information as well. So these are not exclusive. So just because you're not the leader doesn't mean you're not very much welcome to drive those workshops. Any questions?
So the workshops have co-leaders. Other participants are people that we simply invite?
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make
Also,
sure.
there'll be some key staff. So, for example, Paulina's back there. She'll be at the, assuming your schedule aligns with the new date, the Economic Development Workshop. Our Deputy Director of Engineering will be at the Transportation Workshop. We have other key City Hall staff who will be at the workshop for those topic areas. But yeah, really leaning on people in the community who have topic matter expertise, and even outside the community, if you can get them to come to the workshops.
Okay. I think that's important to pick up on Wendell's concept of, if you know somebody that's got area expertise and they're from somewhere else and you think they may want to come because they're involved in some project somewhere, let them know about it, because those perspectives can be helpful. At a minimum, they'll challenge us to think, are ours on the right track or not? So I think, getting that engagement is very important. And you're going to send that kind of the calendar out with the working groups and.
Yeah, I have to just confirm the final dates with everyone, but I'm hoping to do that the next day or two.
Great.
Then we really need to start pushing out the message. And this will be the first working group. We anticipate there being one more series of working groups that will meet, but that would be after the next public workshop. Am I correct about that, Leslie? Yeah, okay.
So Jane, when you visualize these working groups, how many do you see in the room?
Well, there's 7. So there's housing and neighborhoods.
No, how many people, participants?
Oh, that's a good question.
Fill this room.
I think there could be.
Too big a problem and then too less a problem?
I don't think I would be disappointed if we had less than 10 people. I think we could reasonably get at least 20. And I'm gonna, put on Leslie's hat. She likes to use this word. This is an iterative process. I mean, just because you didn't show up doesn't mean your input's not gonna be part of the process. Maybe we just need to connect with you in another way. So I think we need to plan for the 20, but we also need to be able to pivot to being able to accommodate larger groups. So that's something that we're going to work on in the next month in leading up to the dates of those first working group workshops.
Got it.
Are we gonna be taking RSVPs for this? Because if we really get a lot of people, like if we get 60
Yeah.
people that say, I cannot wait to talk about housing.
I think we would like to
Is that
somehow.
like a new location then? I mean, like what level of like pivot are we talking about? And I just wanna make sure that from like a staff
Sure.
perspective, you guys
Are
are
you
ready for
challenging
that.
me, Elaine?
First, I think that would be an incredible problem to have.
Yeah.
I would love that one. We have multiple facilities that we could pivot to.
Cool.
I think there might be easily 60 people interested, but you'll have one date, and the cadence of everyone's life is challenging. So of those 60, based on all the horsepower that the city leveraged for the community-wide public engagement, got a statistically significant number, probably not what we were hoping. So I again would love to have 60 people show up, but I don't think there will be.
I think if 60 people RSVP, 20 people might show up.
Yeah.
So,
I do like the idea of having an RSVP. You don't
Capture the
have to,
list.
but it'll be nice to at least capture that, at least, and if we, because that way we know so-and-so actually isn't gonna be able to come, and then we'll just know to check on that person at their time too.
Jane,
Yes.
based on what you're trying to do, are you envisioning these to be like a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock meeting, or are you?
Oh, yeah, they're 6:30 PM.
Okay.
Yep.
back to
They
Elaine's
would all be
question.
here, sorry, so 6:30 PM, right now, they're all slated to be in this room, which can accommodate a lot of people. And to Dustin's point, I mean, there's other even space at City Hall at 6:30 PM that we could use too, if this, for some reason, has too many people. And then we have a backup location, which doesn't accommodate more people, but it's just a backup location if this room was booked for some reason and we absolutely needed to have the working group sessions on that date and time. It would be at the Joliet Public Library downtown in their Burnham room on the second floor. So, sorry, Nora?
No problem. So I like the idea of requiring an RSVP to not only capture the contact information and to maybe urge them just a little bit more to attend. There's just a little more skin in the game if you fill out a form. Does the city have a designated sort of platform that you use for that kind of thing, or is that something you would want us to handle on our own, which is fine?
We've used, city uses Microsoft products, so we have been using Microsoft Forms to do RSVPs for
But you'd
those
be
kinds of
okay with
things.
me doing it on my own if I wanted to send something out? Or would you prefer I use your platform?
I would advocate hard for uniformity
Yeah.
on this.
That's a
We can
good
talk
question, why don't we,
offline. Yep.
I think we should
Use the
aspire to
cities?
have people RSVP.
And then
Now,
you get to keep that information,
Yeah.
not that I would hoard it, but, it goes right to the mothership then, so we can
Yeah.
talk about that.
For subject matter experts, for the group that I'm on, I am not that. So could we kind
Yeah.
of get assistance with inviting subject matter experts for?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah, yep.
I'm also thinking on the forum, maybe there's subject matter experts on various topics that they would like to attend. Like we could RSVP to multiple if they are
Yeah.
willing to attend.
If I could just add a couple comments.
Yeah.
I think the term subject matter expert is subjective. So having an interest in a particular topic area is enough to be called as, participate in this process. We want to sort of try to remove the barriers for folks that want to be engaged with the comprehensive planning process. And so, if there is an interest, or even folks that want to learn about a particular topic area, please encourage them to attend. Folks are always welcome to attend more than one working group. I realize that it's, it is a time commitment. And we also recognize that many of these thematic topic areas have intersections where, housing and jobs may have an intersection, or natural resources and transportation may have an intersection. So, we are flexible within this process to be able to have some of those conversations also, and are interested to know where those intersections are. We're coordinating these working groups kind of in constructed silos, just to make sure that, as Jane said, the goals make sense, we didn't leave anything out, there aren't any gaps, and we're also interested to learn those unique perspectives around what's the most important thing, what are resident priorities, and if there are subject matter experts, people who have a particular expertise in a topic area, I mean, that's great. But again, these are conversations that everyone will be able to participate in, regardless of, what degree you have in that particular topic area. These are working groups they're workshops, they're flexible, and they're made for active engagement of whoever wants to be in the room to have the conversation.
Yes.
Jane, will there be translation capabilities so that we can encourage our Hispanic population to attend and participate?
That is a great question. I don't have an answer for you yet, so
Okay.
we'll have to work through that.
As I know, in the district, we use headsets to do simultaneous translation, and it really helps our Hispanic families when they attend to be able to fully participate in the meeting, so.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments or questions about the working groups? These are all really good comments and questions. Anything else? All right, we'll move on the agenda then. Next up is staff reports. So I have a couple things. First, I think most of you have met him, but Francisco, hi. He's joined our planning team, so he, along with Ray, who's here, and Helen Miller, they're three city planners here at the city of Joliet. Francisco will be interfacing with you, especially regarding outreach and engagement as this plan continues to unfold. So thanks, Francisco, for joining. Two, we're televised. I should have made that announcement earlier, but there was a desire to televise the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee meetings, so you are on TV. Third is the city council last night approved a memorandum of understanding with the city of Joliet with the Regional Transportation Authority, and that is to do equitable transit-oriented development zoning for the target area that was part of the ETOD plan. So we will be moving forward with the Regional Transportation Authority. Essentially, we got a grant, but they are administering the funds for the procurement of a consultant who's going to help the city with putting together a new package of zoning that would carry out the vision for mixed-use development, multifamily development in the downtown area. So that zoning package will still need to get adopted by the city council, and I'll continue to update this committee as that project moves forward. I don't anticipate that even starting until early next year, but we're moving on that as well, which is exciting. Fourth is next week on November 13th, there is a community meeting number 2 for the Interstate 80 Des Plaines River Bridge Community Plan. So this will be the second community meeting. What's new for this meeting is that it's virtual. So if you are interested in participating or just listening to that meeting, the information for that is on the city's website and the project webpage on the website. So there's information on how to register. It's via Zoom for that. There's also information about that meeting on the city's Facebook page. That meeting it's the second meeting, so much like what we're doing here, the second community meeting is diving into the details. So at this upcoming meeting, we're asking the community to provide feedback on a proposed trail alignment that would be going through this specific target area of the city, design amenities and features for that target area of the city along this trail, as well as other community needs that were identified through this process. We'll be asking for direct feedback. We had a steering committee meeting last night, and Diana's on the steering committee for this project as well. There'll be an interactive component where people who attend the meeting can vote on their preferences. So we're excited with that. So if you're interested in that information's available. And then last,
Jane, excuse
yes.
me. What's the date?
That's November 13th, Thursday. It's at 6:00 p.m. It's slated to be 6 to 7:30.
Okay.
And the link is on the city website.
The link is on the project webpage on the city website, which is joliet.gov/I-80 community plan. And then this should be on our Facebook page as well. And then I'll reach out about this too, or more once I work with our consultant team, but we are targeting a community workshop in February, and we're looking at what that looks like, based on also what we talked about today. I know it's not going to be the third week in February, so we're looking at the second week at this point, or I think it's the fourth week of February, but we're really working with the team there to frame out what that looks like and where it would be and all that.
I have a suggestion on
Yeah.
that. When you mentioned Boise, when you mentioned about the high school potentially doing it there again, maybe if we did it, like if we were able to do it at Central, and then maybe having like the first hour or two to the students and then open to the public afterwards, kind of get the high school to get more involved and get them to participate as an actual school event,
Okay.
Would be a cool way to get that interaction from the kids.
Okay. That's it for my staff updates. Is there any questions or comments on the 5 things that I mentioned?
I think we ought to mention the River's Edge tax credit.
Oh, yes.
That could be very beneficial to the city. The application's been put in, and I'm going to say pretty darn sure that we're going to get it. And that's going to be really helpful for the redevelopment of a lot of our downtown and 4 historical areas in particular, for some of those buildings, but also it's 11 miles of our city, and it's kind of an odd shape, but it gives us a lot of opportunity, and a lot of other cities have benefited from it. I know that Paulina gave a presentation on it last night, and I think you said there are cities that have upwards of $600 million in investment.
Yes.
That has really generated a lot of action and private capital coming in to match these up. So it's been long overdue, but it's now, the application process did a great job. We're excited about that. It's going to really change the dynamics of a lot of our city.
Is there a way for us, like I think when we talked about early on all these studies and just people having fatigue of like, well, like you mentioned, you got the Des Plaines ones, we got, ETOD, we have the comp plan, we have River's Edge. Like, is there a way for us to put some type of marketing piece to let them know? Like, I mean, it's exciting stuff. Like, I get excited because I'm like, I see all the different, with the Choice Neighborhood Grant, River's Edge, ETOD, like, there's, today more than ever, I think there's actually a possibility of things actually happening, right? Because for many years, we always talk about it, and people have that fatigue, like, well, I participated, nothing happened. But like the reality of like the next 5 to 10 years, Joliet can look significantly different because of everything we got going on. How do we start to tie all that together so people understand that like this is real, right? Like even though if you just attend the Des Plaines one, but like you could also attend the comp plan ones to also highlight that what's going on at the Des Plaines, plan. And same thing for the downtown and for because again, all these are going to support each other. Being able to have like the River's Edge and it's throughout the city, right? The whole entire city. So there's just some good opportunity. I'm excited for it, but like, how do we let everybody else to get everyone else excited? So they do show up. So maybe we do have that 60+ people problem because they realize like, wow, this is actually, it's happening, right?
I think that's a really good point, because I think about like our membership, and they all have different maybe interests of these projects that are going on in the city. And if we were able to just like have a menu or a, some type of one-page explanation of all these projects that are going on, it would be really beneficial.
Okay.
Because there's so much good that's going on, and to be able to present it on a one-pager with a link to get more information on that particular project.
Okay. Anything else about what's going on here with staff projects that we mentioned, that the mayor I mentioned? Dustin, do you have anything to add? Okay.
I'm going to bring up another initiative that's in the works right now. We met with, and Hugh's not here, we met with mayors on the north side of our community. We're meeting with mayors on the south side of our community. And we know that in the restructuring of the North Point, Center Point Bridge Partners agreements, there will be funding to do a truck traffic plan. And so we met with Ann Schneider and some leaders of Will County, and the mayors are all getting together to look at this from a regional perspective. And again, we're doing a comprehensive plan for Joliet, but we also have the comprehensive plan for all of our touching partners, because, we get all these jobs coming into our area, and some of the other communities will provide housing. And the real emphasis of this, though, is to try and come up with a plan for the truck traffic. We got all the studies we need. I can tell you what the study says. There are too damn many trucks in our downtown and everywhere else. And so we have some figures on that, and it's 7 figures. But on the other hand, I know Jada's looking to put some money into it, and we're going to approach those large partners in our community to help make this plan happen. And again, that will have a great effect, and it's part of what we're doing here. So we've got so many layers of planning that we're doing that we should be able to come up with something. If we get another 28 million square feet of warehouses out of the east side of 53 in the closed loop, they still have to get there somehow. And they're not all using the Humboldt Road Bridge, which, we really need to start to define what is a truck traffic plan. And Doug, were you in that meeting? I don't know if you were in that.
I'm not sure if I was in that most recent one, but
Is that the one in Crest Hill?
yeah, I wasn't in that one.
Yeah, were you there, Jen?
No.
So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. We've got I think the layers are all going to come together at some point where this is all going to work out. And it's also part of what we're trying to accomplish. So just throwing that out there, and when you say something publicly, then you have to do it. So that challenge is out there for all of our regional partners to help identify and give to IDOT, this is what we need. I don't think we need big trucks traversing our 100-year-old bridges anymore, but that's just me personally speaking. How do we divert that? I know Mayor Daley would have put truck gates up and closed Meigs Field one midnight. I know we can't do that. Anyway, just one more layer of what we're doing.
Well, and the great thing is that the other neighbors are experiencing the same issues.
Yeah.
Trucks barreling through their cities and downtowns and causing fatalities at this point now.
Everywhere.
But yet
Joliet's
no
20
one wants to reduce their consumption at all. So, it all comes back to the consumer and the individual making those choices, so.
Well, if we all quit Amazon, if the whole region, if the whole country quits Amazon, we don't have a truck problem. And I don't see it
We
happening.
have other problems.
But I think it's important to realize that we together as a group of communities are much stronger than any one of us alone. Joliet's 21% of the population of Will County, and just like Chicago's 21% of the population of the state of Illinois. So collectively together, we in Will County have a lot of more horsepower than Joliet would, or Manhattan would, or Romeoville, or Crest Hill. But I think this consortium is going to help us all find a better path forward for the inundation of the multimodal facility that's been here for 20 years. It's not going away anytime fast. So that'll help us in this comprehensive plan study as well. All we need now is $1 million.
That's it.
You know what Robin Williams said on how to pay tax on $1 million? Well, first get $1 million. But we do have partners that'll help fund this.
All right. Next on the agenda is member comments. Anyone have anything they want to add? Is there any upcoming meetings we should all be aware of?
I do, but if anyone else wants to go,
Okay.
because I always speak during this time. There are a few items that have been discussed and been on agendas specifically impacting the east and southeast side. One of them is the data center. I've had several conversations over the course of the past month about this data center. And a lot of the comments that I'm getting from residents, it's not in favor of the data center. I know this meeting isn't specifically focused on that type of project, but with us doing a comprehensive plan, I think something as large as the data center should be considered by this group because it will impact everything that we're currently working on. So for that data center not to have been introduced in this group before it was put on an agenda, I think that was a missed opportunity. And
Ms. Walker, what were specifically the not in favor? What part?
The impact to water consumption, the impact to the electrical power that is going to be utilized, as well as how it will impact residents that are on the grid with the data center. There are other communities that have the data center, and there's other cities that currently have the proposal of the data center that are also highly opposed to that coming. So it's not just what's happening here, it's other areas that's also having these same conversations.
Thank you.
Where's the data center proposed, where was it proposed to be?
Where? On the southeast side of Joliet?
The racetrack area?
Let me address that. It probably shouldn't have been put on planning because it's in the very infant stages, and we know there's a lot of negatives. We know there's some positives, but there's still a lot of homework to do on this. So I don't know that it should fall into the purview of this. I think it should fall in the purview of what's good for the whole community. Is it a positive or negative? But there is so much homework to do on it, and we have a lot of heavy lifting to do, and it should have never gotten onto planning without all the questions answered. I mean, so I would like to say that of the 41,000 acres of Joliet, that's 800 acres. I know it's a big deal, but we're so far down in the basement of trying to understand this thing that I can tell you we can't answer all the questions yet, but we're working on it. And the thing I see that I don't understand is that they've got these poker chips all over the state. I mean, everybody I know that's got a farm has a data center contract on it, just like solar was doing. And it's just amazing that they want the chips to fall somewhere. And yeah, there's water issues, which now they've got a closed water system. Okay, but electricity is a big question. So there are so many things to answer that I think it should be in the purview of the city to bring it to the community, positive or negative.
Yeah.
So, and you're right, it's a big part of this, but you know, we're working through 2,000 plus acres of warehouse that, to me, is a bigger problem with this whole truck traffic scenario. So it's a huge study we have to do, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions. So we are working on that.
Okay.
So
I would-
if I could just do one more clarifying statement. I'll take responsibility for it ended up on the agenda. That's my fault. You can blame me.
Okay,
and second, second, you will see it again because it was a procedural thing, right? Like it was tabled specifically to November, so you'll see it on the November agenda because the motion was to table, and then it will go off, and you won't see it again until all these questions that are legitimate questions have been answered. So that's just a little bit of background. So when it pops up, you say, I thought I said this. You did, but procedurally there was a motion to table it to a specific meeting, and then they'll say, we're going to table it indefinitely, and then it's going to go.
Okay. Well, these are just things that I am actively involved in our community. So I hear the comments coming from our neighborhood residents. So it's not just me saying this.
Oh,
so
for sure.
I just want to make sure that I use this opportunity to voice some of the concerns that we've had in our specific area from our residents.
And likewise, I want to make sure I use your voice to get out that it is going to be seen and then tabled indefinitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one definitely struck a nerve that even bigger than the sculpture downtown.
To imagine.
I got 3 phone calls of positive on the sculpture, but this one I'm getting beat up pretty good. So yeah, we're going to measure 10 times and cut once on this one.
Yeah. Philosophically, I think it's an interesting question, right? Like, just like trucks, we're all using Amazon. The trucks are going to go somewhere, right? We can say we don't want the data center here. That's a legitimate, I totally get it, right? But
We're using it.
But we're using it, and because we control the annexation agreement, we can put whatever we want in that and let them say no to us, right? And that goes with the water consumption. We say you can only use, 50,000 gallons of water a day. And if you can't do that, then you can go down the road. That's fine. You won't use our water. We're in a position of power and control, right? Whereas if you say, no, we're just not going to do it, it's going to go somewhere. Maybe it goes to Manhattan, maybe it goes to Manuka, somewhere, but you'll still have all those negative externalities. You have just kicked it down the road, and now you don't control anything. Maybe they do use water, and maybe they do drain the aquifer. Maybe those people do have a profound lack of access. Like you've read the same things I've read.
Yeah.
Right now, we can control that potentially if we wanted to. But if we give up that control and just say no, it will go somewhere, unfortunately. So just food for thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, just like with, all the controversial topics out there, there's always a lot of misinformation. And, we hear the same things like because we build these data centers, right? And they're being built all over the place. Cook County, Manuka's got one that's going to break ground here soon. The water, the noise, and the electricity is the 3 things that always come up, right? Joliet's being looked at because it's uniquely positioned to handle, all 3 of those. It's not going to be in an area where it's going to, residents are going to be affected by noise. We have the infrastructure as far as water, and we have the infrastructure as far as electricity. Will County is the #1 producer of electricity in the whole state of Illinois. That's why it's an attractive place to look to build a data center. But what a lot of people don't understand is that Illinois is part of a 13-state coalition, where we transmit electricity, between states, across states, depending on demand. So whether you build a data center here in Joliet, or if you build it in Indiana, which one is being built right now, it doesn't matter. We're still going to be affected by, the rates, the utility rates, because ComEd or Ameren or wherever you build it in the state of Illinois, if there's more demand being, generated in Indiana, then guess where that electricity is going to go? And we're going to end up paying for it. So, in my opinion, if we can control it, I think Joliet is uniquely positioned. It's not like we're some small town that, you have to bring, water in from 50 miles away, or, we don't have the fiber capability, to handle something like that. All that infrastructure is already in place here. So I think we need to educate ourselves and probably the public a little bit more on what exactly they are, what they do. Like, Nora mentioned earlier, if we just stop consuming, this issue with the data centers is not going to go away because we use all this technology every day. It only continues to grow, whether it's the apps on your phone, the cloud computing, data storage, et cetera. It's just going to get more advanced. And to me, this looks like more like an issue with infrastructure, kind of like what we have with our water issue. You know, we have this Grand Prairie Water Commission where we're bringing water, from, Lake Michigan. Data centers to me are basically like the same thing. We need this infrastructure, to continue to operate the way we do. Technology just keeps advancing. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you have to keep advancing with it. Otherwise, you just get left behind. So it's just my thought, my opinion on it.
Some of the misinformation on that is like he said, their first proposal was they were going to use the gray water coming out of the water treatment plant. So it wouldn't have affected anything it would have actually been a plus. So they look at other ways to do that, but it would not be like Michigan water or that type of water that would be cooling these things if it were to happen. So again, water, electricity, and noise are the three biggest things that are coming out of it. And water is a non-event for us. That would actually be a plus if that's the proposal they go through with. But these things are evolving so fast. It's like a plan 6 months ago is completely different than a plan today. But we are beholden to the community to make sure we make the right decision as a city. And there will be a lot of noise. I'll guarantee it. There's going to be a lot of against and a lot for. So our job is just to weigh this thing as we go forward and make sure that the decision is best for the current 150,000 residents and the future 250,000 residents with the water we're buying from Chicago. So,
Well, and if we're talking about diversifying our economic offerings, that would be it, wouldn't it? I mean, bringing a lot of jobs
but
and,
again, there's so many open ends on this thing right now, and I assure you that we will work diligently to make sure that it's done intentionally one way or the other.
Okay. So another thing that has come up is the residents are noticing that there has been a reduction of industrial development on the east and southeast side. It has slowed down, so they did want to recognize and mention that. Even though there were a lot of comments about the data center. And then one of the other things that has come up is, will this committee make recommendations for the east and southeast side development that may be required for the next 10 to 20 years? Is this committee going to actually provide some of those recommendations? What I've heard is that a lot of residents are not hearing enough about the east and southeast side during our comprehensive planning committee meeting.
I would say you're the voice to that group, and we absolutely know that there's a lot of blank canvas on the south and the east side, and we'll be very deliberate on how that continues to develop out. I used to refer to some of the stuff going on in the city as dartboard zoning. My buddy wants to put light industrial over here.
Yeah.
Wasn't a good spot for that. You've got warehouses next to Forest Preserve, not the greatest spot. So I can assure you that we will be very deliberate on making sure that it's integrated for the quality of life we need to continue to move forward to. Again, we need to increase our population 100,000 over the next 20 years, 25 years. And you don't do that just throwing darts at the board. And so, yeah, I say there's a lot of good canvas on the south and east side to work with. And we're all here to do that. And thank God, you're the voice to that part of the community. And so that sitting in here, we'll really keep our eye on it, like everywhere in the whole community.
Well, I think it's important to note that this plan is going to direct the entire city. It's not going to have west side, north side, east side. It's going to be, we have a scope of activity that this is going to drive and objectives to make it a better place, a higher level of quality of life for everybody, housing that can attract people at all price points. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. If it's not good for everybody, it's not good for this committee. Plain and simple. I mean, as you look at things, there's always going to be pluses and negatives, but the pluses or the pros versus the cons, those need to outweigh the negative side. And you might move forward. No matter what we do, there will always be people that say, you should have done this or you should have done that. To which I say, come to the meetings and voice it. Because collectively, we can come up with some really good points and opinions. And most of those are from the people who we interact with and we bring it here. Clearly, that's why all of us are on this committee, because we have that range and that scope of activity. But the one thing that I think it's important to understand is we don't drive the activity. We drive the plan that provides the strategy that will provide the work plan, if you will, to the city staff who will execute it. No different than if you want to talk about employee benefits. We could talk about them here, sure, but we have no control over it. So, but the comments might be helpful to staff to say, hey, we hadn't thought of that. And so by voicing it here, we've done what we need to do. And so good points that were made. And we know data centers they're the current trend, and with the technology continuing to evolve and accelerate, those are going to continue to be important, because we still need to make sure that the internet and Wi-Fi is available throughout our entire city, and I don't know that it is. There might be a pocket here or there that's still waiting for that to happen. And so keep bringing up all of the issues and thoughts that you have, because that's why we're here.
Can I make a suggestion? I think that you have a great opportunity. I think the danger with a lot of the community meetings is they can just stop at being complaint sessions. And I think that with technology and all of the things that we have available to us, you can turn those from complaint sessions into vision sessions, where people can reimagine and think through things. Because I think what happens is a lot of the meetings stop at what people see as wrong, but they're still waiting on somebody else to figure out a solution. I think you can turn those meetings into vision sessions. I mean, you have the internet, you have social media, so an answer to every problem is within the reach of your phone. So like, challenge these individuals to reimagine. That's why we've engaged people. That's why we're having these community meetings and these engagement sessions, not so that we can hear complaints, but so that we can hear ideas and people can come with their imaginations. And I think it's our job as community leaders to shift people, to show them something different and provide opportunities versus just saying, okay, tell me what's wrong. My thing is, tell me what's wrong. All right, so how can we fix it? What are you imagining? What are you thinking about? And I think that's how you can shift those meetings into something, so that way residents of the Southeast Side, what they realize is what they've imagined, not what somebody else has imagined for them.
One of the things that we are looking to do for 2026 is exactly that. So we are going to focus on providing a solution for a specific issue that we have, and we're going to target all of our meetings to try and address that specific issue. So looking at actually, hopefully at the end of the year, we have a solution to a specific issue that's on the east and southeast side. So we are absolutely looking to do that.
You know, one of the tools coming down the pipe too is the Urban 3 study that we're having done that tells us what our now looks like. How much canvas do we have open in every section of the city, and where can we repurpose it? What are we going to do with it? And that's the whole idea of this right here is what's our now look like and what's our next going to look like with that. So yeah, we're with you on that.
That's it.
When is that that study's supposed to be completed?
We are going to have the principal here probably at the end of quarter one or quarter two. So formal presentation at council and then a couple of community presentations as well.
Any other member comments?
I would just like to plug a chamber event that's
Yeah.
coming up that I think many of you would be interested in. On November 19th, we are hosting our member luncheon at Hollywood Casino, and we will have Kevin Cross, the president of NBC Chicago. He's going to talk about the how audiences consume content in today's evolving media landscape. Technology's role in improving viewer experiences and innovation, and just growth of streaming platforms like Amazon, Apple TV, Netflix. So I think it would be very interesting for a variety of individuals and businesses. He's also going to, if anyone was at our anniversary luncheon last year, he is going to be moderated by Dave Kaplan. Again, he's the radio and TV personality with ESPN. So if anyone doesn't have access to get registration, just let us know, let me know. Call our office or me personally.
Anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Well, no. Almost. Okay, next on the agenda is public comments, sections for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items, and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. It's not a question and answer period, and staff and the committee members do not generally respond to public comments. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment? Okay, Mr. Anditch.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning? Aye. All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.